There's been quite a few morally questionable assassin characters throughout the entirety of the series. Assassins that take into their own hands to do either what's best for themselves, or in their mind for the Brotherhood. One such character, and one of the most interesting, is Pierre Bellec from Assassin's Creed Unity. I've always found Bellec to be a fascinating character, even if when the game launched, a lot of people were laughing at the fact that a French-Canadian assassin had an Irish accent. But then again, most everyone in this game has an English accent, I guess to give it an old-timey sound. But something I've often wondered about in regards to the narrative of Unity is, was Pierre Bellec right in the end? Were his actions justified, and considering all that happened, was he wrong to take the extreme steps he did? In fact, as written by Sean Hastings, this is a question that is even debated among assassin historians in the modern day within the game's narrative itself. And in case it wasn't obvious by this point, this will contain spoilers for Assassin's Creed Unity. But our protagonist, Arnaud Dorian, first meets Pierre Bellec in the Bastille. He trains Arnaud and extends an offer for him to join the Parisian Brotherhood. Bellec essentially took Arnaud under his own wing, like he did for his father Charles, and trained him in the ways of the assassins as master and apprentice. It's clear Bellec really liked Arnaud and saw a lot of potential in him as an assassin. He often sided with Arnaud in disputes with the council, and when the time came for Bellec's plan to purge and rebuild the Brotherhood, he wanted Arnaud to join him so they could rebuild it together with both of them at the top. Pierre Bellec was an assassin who cared more about the past and long-running war with the Templars than what was actually best for the Creed and the people of France. There's no doubt that he cared for the Brotherhood and in his own mind was doing what was right, but what he actually cared about and valued in the Brotherhood was the name and the history in the war with the Templars, not the principles of what it strove for. In a lot of ways, he's like an assassin nationalist, who cares more about the annihilation of the Templars than what will actually bring peace. But looking at his past, it's very easy and understandable to see why he thought this way, why he had such a deep-rooted hatred for the Templars, and why he could never bring himself to be okay with a truce or alliance of any kind. As he explained to Arnaud, he had seen the Templars commit terrible atrocities. He'd seen them massacre entire villages for the chance of just killing one assassin. So Bellec witnessing this and then also losing his pupil, Arnaud's father, Taché, makes his hatred for the Templars and refusal to be at peace with them very understandable. But this hatred for the Templars blinded him, as he clearly valued destroying them more than the purpose of the assassins themselves, which is to bring peace and freedom. Unity is one of the few times in the whole of the series where we had actually seen a truce between the assassins and Templars. But characters like Pierre Bellec and Thomas Germain prove that any kind of truce between assassins and Templars will only ever be temporary, as there will always be some people on both sides who can't let the conflict go no matter what. The truce in Unity was struck between De La Serre and Mirabeau. We catch a glimpse of this at the start of the game, and it essentially cost both men their lives. Germain, believing the Templars had lost their way, had De La Serre assassinated, and Pierre Bellec, believing the same for the assassins, poisoned Mirabeau. In many ways, and I believe this was intentional on the part of the writers, Bellec is like a mirroring of Germain but for the assassins, believing they had lost their way and wanting to restore the Creed to its former quote-unquote glory. Bellec was absolutely right that once De La Serre had died, the assassins should have immediately forsaken the truce and found out what the Templars were up to, but once Arnaud brings Elise into the fold, a Templar and the daughter of a Templar Grand Master, seeking the assassins' help in avenging her father, and with Mirabeau prepared to give it, that's when Bellec had enough. If you imagine it from his perspective, seeing countless people die at the hands of the Templars and people he cared about, like fellow assassins, the idea of helping a Templar avenge a Grand Master must have made him sick, which you can't really fault him for feeling that way, but rather than trying to let go of the past and break the cycle of war with the Templars, or finding another way, he decides to poison the assassin mentor. In his mind, it had to be done, and he's only following the examples of other great assassins before him, like with Altair. The legendary Altair killed his assassin mentor and reshaped the Brotherhood into something great, and Bellec's plan was to do the same, follow in his legacy.
You think it's the first time this has happened? The first time that the assassins have been forced to purge their leadership. The first time that the Order has built itself back up from nothing to power. No. Masyaf, Monteregione, the American colonies.
The only difference is Al-Mualim had become corrupted and sought the Templars' version of peace through controlling everybody with an Apple of Eden. Altair killed him because the entire purpose of the Assassins is to bring peace through the safeguarding of free will. Mirabeau allying with Elise to avenge her father's murder and bring down the Templars who orchestrated it is not a betrayal of the core beliefs of the Creed. Mirabeau and Al-Mualim are not the same. Only to Bellec, a core belief is that the Templars are the enemy and must be fought no matter what. He wouldn't even align himself with a Templar to kill other Templars. This closed-minded mindset and inability to let go of his hatred is what led to him killing Mirabeau and attempting to purge the Brotherhood, which only resulted in his own death at the hands of Arnaud. So, do I think Pierre Bellec was right and justified in killing Mirabeau and trying to purge and rebuild the Brotherhood? No, I don't. He was right about the Assassins being inactive at the start of the game, and that they should have forgotten about the truce with the Templars once Francois de la Serre was killed, but he definitely let his hatred of the Templars come before what was actually best for the Creed and France. And killing the Assassin Mentor is probably not the best way to take down the Templars. I really do think he's a great character though, as in any kind of age-old conflict between two factions, nations, or whatever it may be, there's always someone like Pierre Bellec on either side. Someone who just cannot let go of the past for the sake of peace. And for the Templars, this was Germain. These two characters are really a lot more similar than most people may realize. And even with Arnaud having his issues with the Parisian Brotherhood and being exiled after Bellec's death, that was mostly the fault of his own disobedience. In no way do I think the game is trying to portray Bellec's actions as justifiable. Though, like I said, I do think you can at least understand why he hates the Templars so much, that he would go to such extremes. And on top of this, I also think he idolized previous great assassins like Altair. Again, he mentions the purge of Masyaf's leadership, he brings up Altair during the Notre Dame assassination. This idea isn't touched on too much in the game, but I think Bellec, on top of his hatred for the Templars, also had the desire to follow in Altair's footsteps and bring about great change in the Brotherhood and restore it to its proper glory, to give himself that legacy, which may have been another contributing factor to him taking such extreme measures to do so. But that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Bellec's actions were justified? And do you think this is a good example as to why the Templars and Assassins can never have permanent peace so long as they both refuse to submit? Again, the morality of Bellec's actions are hotly debated by even the modern day Assassins themselves, so it's a very interesting discussion. But aside from that, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. And other than that, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.